Good morning and thank you for joining us on the first Aitech Virtual Customers Forum event. There is no doubt that we are facing a new reality. Challenges such as AI in the future battlefield and cyber threats will accelerate in the post-COVID-19 era. This is why we have decided to focus on these challenges on our 2020 annual event. So what's on the agenda today? Yaron Mund, Aitech CEO, will start with an interview of the upcoming challenges and trends in the defense industry is facing. C.S. Morty, the General Manager of Aitech India, we will continue with a fascinating presentation presented by one of our keynote speakers, Major General Amos Malka, that will talk about Israel and its startup nation DNA as a critical factor facing the future challenges. We will welcome our new VP Marketing, Duke Huitran, and then we continue for 2 sessions focusing on AI, cybersecurity, and swap C optimization. We have an interesting 90 minutes ahead of us, including an interactive live experts panel, where we will be more than happy to answer all your questions. In between, you will be invited to answer 2 interesting poll questions, and for those who will stay with us until the end, we will appreciate if you will participate in a very short satisfaction survey where a $100 Amazon gift voucher will be drawn in a raffle, especially for you and in perfect timing just before Christmas. You can find the link to the survey on our chat. By filling it in, you will be automatically entered to our draw to win a $100 Amazon voucher. The winner will be announced shortly after the event. So let's get started, as I'm honored to invite our first speaker, Mr. Yaron Mund, Aitech CEO.
Hello everyone and welcome for our virtual conference. I would like to thank you all for attending us today and spending the time with us, and hoping to meet with you in person when we will do our conference for next year. I would like to take the opportunity in the next few minutes to introduce myself a bit, to introduce Aitech. I know many of you know Aitech for many years, but the company has been changed quite heavily in the last few years, so we will try to update you all what has happened in Aitech, and also to share with you the way we see our sector, the defense sector, in these strange days of mid-COVID, post-COVID trends and situation. A bit about myself, a bit more than 45 years old. I live in Israel, in Kfar Saba. I have 3 kids and one that additional one coming almost every week now. I joined Aitech a bit more than a year and a half. I graduated both my bachelor and master degree in industrial engineering from the Technion in Israel. My first work after graduating almost 20 years ago was in the production electronics line for automatic testing equipment in the defense sector. But since then, I moved more to leadership and management position. I worked in various industries, not necessarily only in defense or electronics. Most of my position were in global companies in various size and countries. I believe my main expertise is transition management and growth enhancement within the companies. I would like to start by sharing with you our vision. For me, a vision for a company is something that is quite significant, and each and every word matters. I believe you can read for yourself. I would like to focus on the first and last words. The first word in our vision is creating. I believe this is our main value, and that's what we do. We create systems, we create solutions. We have IP, we have knowledge. We are not just delivering, assembly, providing, integrating, or whatever. So we are creating solutions. And all of our solutions are embedded in our customers, in yours application and solution. And together, I believe we are securing a safer and a better tomorrow for mankind. We operate today in 3 facilities, US, Israel, and India. We have a bit more than 200 employees. We have a global virtual organizational chart, so we have one global leadership team with team members in all of the 3 countries. Basically, in these days, the place where you live doesn't necessarily affect the way you can do your work. In all of our facilities, we are capable for engineering, production, customer service and support, production. So we are fully flexible to meet the needs and the demands for the various needs of our customers. In these slides, you can see an attempt to summarize everything we can do for you. So we have identified our products line. You can see them on the left side of the slide. I will not read them through, but you should know and be aware that for each product line, we have a product line manager. Two of them you will meet later on today. We have a roadmap, we have a technology and also production roadmap, and also mix of customized and off-the-shelf solution to support various needs. All of our product lines have application in all dimensions views, from space to land, sea and air. We have built ourselves to provide a complete solution for 360 degrees for our customers. So as I said before, in every line and for each product, we have an off-the-shelf solution, we have a subsystem and semi-customized solution. We provide all kinds of support from component engineering to customer support, program management, obsolescence management, all the certification and documentation needed. So we are quite flexible, but we build ourselves to provide a full solution to our wide customer base. You can see here some relevant examples. I will share with you some customer data later on, so maybe we'll move through. We have defined core values of the company that we quite strictly implementing both inbound and outbound of the company. Our passion to win and our passion to help our customers win their challenges and win their business. Creativity, both in our technology and in the way we do business. Respect for each other, but also for the whole ecosystem and environment. And last but not least, a very strong level of accountability all across the board. Now I would like to take a few minutes to share with you the way we look at trends in our industry. So the way I see it, we are living in a time where there are two strong trends that are affecting most of our industry situation. The first one is a technological revolution of the military conflict and the military field. That trend has started a few years ago, but we see it grow stronger and stronger. And the second one, of course, is the effect of the economical and health aspects of the COVID-19 situation and all sort of estimation about what will happen in the near future. So if you look at the anonymity of military conflict, what we can see is a very strong focus on equipment modernization and not necessarily new equipments. We see growing focus on unmanned solution, both for ground, air and space. Cybersecurity become an issue because of the unmanned vehicles that are traveling around the battlefield. Stronger and more sophisticated AI application, biological threats, use of robotics and small robotics. We see space becomes more and more relevant also for defense application, and especially the LEO, the lower space orbit. And everything has to be smaller, lighter and faster, and I think we can all understand why. If we look about the effect of the COVID situation on our economical, so first thing to say that at least until now, global spending in defense remains stable, so we haven't seen a big decrease. Also forecasts for 2021 seems the same, but we all have a very high level of uncertainty, so that might change. Even though the spending is stable, the competition level is increasing for various reasons. I think one of the main reasons is the defense side became more attractive because the commercial sides of aerospace, as we all know, has less spendings and fundings. So companies in the past tried to compete in both arenas are now putting all the focus on the defense side. We also see an increased use of open system architectures that also supports the level of competition that is increasing. Lack of cash make the focus on modernization of equipment even stronger. So more and more governments will invest in upgrading platform rather than introducing new platform to the market. Cash being spent on recover from the COVID might require new ways of fundings. So I think all of us will be forced to be more creative in the near future, and supply chains becoming an issue. So more and more companies, especially the main defense consumers, governments, are trying to localize as much as they can. Lockdowns and shutdowns and all that, creating a much stronger need for flexibility and agility within the supply chain. So supply chains for sure will be the first things that will be see significant in our industry in the very near future. I would like to summarize by saying that when we look at the challenges and the trends and the legacy of AI Tech, we believe that we are fully ready to meet those challenges and also to support our customers to meet their challenges. We have decided to use some numbers and not words to demonstrate why. We are investing a lot of money in R&D, double-digit percentage of our revenues every year in the last 20 years. We have delivered more than 100,000 of boards. We are growing, again, double-digit for almost 20 years now. So we have a high level of confidence that together we can succeed in moving forwards, even though we have some low-term challenges. Thanks again for joining us. Hoping you will have an interesting and fruitful seminar, and hoping to see you in person very soon. Bye-bye.
I would like to welcome C.S. Murthy, the General Manager of Aitech India, to present Aitech progress of the Make in India plan.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is C.S. Murthy, and I've been in this industry from last 20 years. I was working with Aitech as a distributor for a quite long time, and we started the company of Aitech in the last 2017. I thank you very much, first of all, by inviting all my guests for being with Aitech for so many years and driving the Aitech to the position what they are. Before I start my presentation or topic of discussion about today's Make in India as a concept, I would just like to start with my extending warm welcome to the people who are participating in Make in India program. And as I said, I've been working with Aitech from last 20 years, and most of my customers who are there working with Aitech from last 20 years are known about the quality and delivery of Aitech, what that does in India. Aitech as a company started in 1986 in Israel and transformed from black and white to a colorful Aitech in India in 2017. Aitech has started its operation in India on a prime perspective of becoming a good RMS support center and starting doing engineering development and then a sales and an R&D team. In the last 2 years, we started working more towards support activities, and last 1 year especially, we started doing design and development of Aitech products in India. Today, Aitech is the only OEM in India which has the infrastructure in place to manufacture, design, and develop the products in India. Aitech as a company has established its own presence in India, supporting the needs of Indian defense requirement to have a Make in India as a concept of successful growth. Some of the facts and figures which we talk about here is about the budget and the revenue, what is there in this business of market in India. As we all know, India is the 5th largest annual defense budget spender, talking about $65 million of spend targeted for the years to come every year on. And currently, 70% of Indian defense products are imported. With the various changes in the government policies from last couple of years, Government of India has decided to make an automatic route for the foreign companies to make investment up to 44% in the companies as a joint venture to make the products in India. Aitech has taken this as an opportunity and started developing the ecosystem in India since 2017 and to challenge the need and requirement of Indian defense quality standards. Opportunities from defense offset obligation is also the part of the consideration for Aitech in India, and that's why the proportionate of the company in India is fully equipped to support the manufacturing under the obligation of offset as well. As all we know that Make in India, Buy in India, and Buy Global, Make Global are so many philosophies that are going around in the Indian market. Aitech is geared up to meet any challenges in terms of qualifying itself as a company which is Make in India. Aitech as a company has defined itself as its position in India by partnering with a lot of Tier 1 manufacturers, defense equipment manufacturers in India. Aitech is blessed with the customers who have been working with Aitech for many years, supporting the Aitech position in India, and also help in developing the requirements of the customer in time with the quality of international standards. Aitech prides itself on its robust list of technology partners. Many of them have a collaboration with many years with Aitech, and we seek partnership, as our CEO mentioned, with the values of the vision. As Aitech, we are committed for developing the most advanced technology for our customers and feel it's very important to help and strengthen the growth of embedded computing ecosystem, especially in India. The basic reason why Aitech has positioned itself as a major OEM manufacturing their facility in India is to meet the challenges of Make in India as a straightforward technology transfer from the parent company as well as partnering in the design and development of the requirements in India by Indian team. As Aitech, we offer system engineering, customer interface development systems, system testing and validation program, of course, integration and manufacturing. Aitech has been supplying to our major customers. We are blessed to have HAL, Bell, L&T, Tata as a major suppliers to customers to Aitech and being a part of major programs from the last 20 years. Aitech, with its direct presence in India since 2017, is demonstrating its commitment towards Indian customers and Indian market and to make in India a real reality. Aitech has started its R&D center in India as a part of the global R&D program, having a team of engineers sitting in India, designing the boards, not just for Indian customers, but also to the global customers. This opportunity helps Indian and talented team to learn the nitty-gritty of design, provide a very strong, efficient, and cohesive technology to the Indian customers and manufacture those products in India to meet the quality standards of international standards. Aitech has already identified and qualified subcontractors or sub-vendors who can be a part of our ecosystem to make our boards in India starting from Q1 2020. As all we know, quality is the most important subject and it means money and time for any company, and Aitech strongly believes in this, and just by believing doesn't happen. So we, as a part of a global program, India is also getting ready for IS 9000 decertification. With a long-term vision of being in India and staying positive, we have the Aitech group has started its investment in India in R&D, production, and of course, an integration center. As all of you know, who was working with Aitech for many years, Aitech has a very strong commitment to Indian customers. And we are proud through our customers, we are into so many programs which otherwise would not have made it. Taking the same step forward, Aitech has done its part of making in India a part of their delivery plan for 2021. The idea of delivery plan of 2021 is to improve our capabilities in terms of R&D design, engineering in India. We are doubling our numbers in coming year, enhance our manufacturing capabilities by partnering with the local suppliers and vendors. And these qualified members of our family are the part of a global production ecosystem, which means most of the suppliers who are qualified under Aitech program in India are also manufacturing systems which to be delivered by Aitech globally elsewhere other than in India. We all know the kind of support Aitech is extended through our support team in Israel, but now it was decided that Aitech India will extend the same kind of support by local. This enables customers to get a support at a very quick turnaround time, and RMA support is one of our most important agenda when we make the company in India in 2017. Some of the facts which declares the Aitech footprint in India with our partnership with our esteemed customers, we are a part of BrahMos, we are a part of Rustum, we are part of LCA, we are part of ALH, we are part of Hakai, we are part of an helicopter upgrade programs. We are also a part of missile launcher programs such as MRSAM, LRSAM, Pinaka, and we are also part of a naval subsystems which we are not aware about the specific area of application. In general, looking at this footprint, it fulfills the need and requirement of Aitech to be in India, giving the value to our customers who have been with us in the last 20 years. Aitech truly wants to be a local partner with a global connect. When we talk about local partner, we would like to be a partner with you in India along with your team. And we say about global, we want to bring the global capabilities, global think tank process, global design process, and implementation process to a company in India, which will help our customers and also us to enhance our technological capabilities and improve our connect with the customer. I thank you very much for being patient, listening to me all this. And as you know, I'm always available for any discussions, and we appreciate your time. And I really appreciate if you start corresponding with us with the needs of developing systems in India for not just for your local requirement, but even for the export content of it. And thank you very much.
I would like to continue with a fascinating presentation given by Major General retired Amos Malka, Chairman of the Board of Aitech. Amos will talk about the Israeli startup nation DNA as a critical factor facing the future challenges. Major General Amos Malka had retired from the IDF in 2002. He is a former head of the Israeli Defense Intelligence and commander of the IDF Ground Forces Command.
Hello everyone, I'm Amos Malka, I'm the chairman of the board of Aitech. I'm going to talk to you today about Startup Nation, the critical DNA for the future challenges. Why did I choose this title for my presentation? Not just to show off or to be proud of the Israeli excellent success story. It was mainly to emphasize the crucial DNA for everyone who wants to stay relevant for the future challenges. What is the agenda? We will talk today about Israel as a startup nation, and then we will jump to what happened in the last decade, since in the last generation, since 1992. And then we will go to the next generation, and we ask if we can predict the progress one generation ahead towards the 2048. And then to the conclusion about the critical success factor for the next generation. So we'll start with the story of Israel as a startup nation. In this slide, you see that Israel jumps to 5th place in the innovation countries. It is a significant position for such a small country. You can see that the US is in the 8th place, and in the next slide, you see the number of multinational R&D and innovation centers in Israel. We have here about 350 multinational centers in Israel. Every tier 1 and tier 2 global companies have identified benefits to open centers in Israel. And this is really a vote of trust in our innovation DNA. And then we go to the ecosystem, which we need to understand. It's essential to understand the ecosystem that creates Israel high-tech DNA. Let's go with the clock direction. There is a huge investment opportunities. For example, the total investment amount increased from 6.5 billion in 2018 to 8.3 in 2019. And the aggregate value of M&A transactions in 2019 was more than $12 billion, a record high value. The next subject is a thriving startup community. We have here in Israel more than 5,000 startups. including 3,500 in Aitech, the highest number of startups in the world. About the innovation thinking, and Israel brand name is built from its human resources, entrepreneurial spirit, active support from the government, and the top academic institution. For example, it's a $400 million annually investment by the government chief scientist. And about the academic centers, 5 of the 9 universities features in the QS World University ranking. About the global reach, Tel Aviv is considered as one of the top 5 cities, startup cities in the world. And we will jump to the top accelerators and VCs. We have more than 165 VCs in Israel, including 60 plus international venture capitals. And I want to talk about the IDF graduates. Financial Times article described Unit A200 that I'm sure that most of you know, probably the foremost technical intelligence agency in the world, and stood on a par with the NSA in everything except the scale. And if you walk in the Silicon Valley, you will find hundreds of IDF graduates, including in the top global companies, all the Googles. Now let's see the exits, the number of exits. So you see that in the last decade, the total value of deals, more than 1,200 deals, throughout the decades was more than $110 billion. And if you take the last 3 years, 2017 to 2019, the value was 58 billion, mainly due to 2 mega deals, which Intel paid more than $15 billion to acquire Mobileye, and NVIDIA paid more than almost $7 billion to acquire Mellanox. And then let's see the top acquiring companies. So you can see all the top tier 1 companies. You can see Intel, Google, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, all the big companies are here in the acquiring Israeli companies. So now, what are the major domains? This is only a sample of the major domains, but you can see the agri-tech, the water tech, the auto tech, the artificial intelligence, the telecom, defense and security, medical devices, digital health, cybersecurity, cyber intelligence, fintech, computing power, and more and more and more. And let's go to some of the domains, and we see some examples. The first one is the autonomous and smart mobility. This domain is close to Aitech territory because it deals with vehicles. And Aitech deals with vehicle as well. So what we see here, we see more than 500 different companies, startup companies in the e-mobility, in the autonomous vehicle, in the smart mobility and the vehicle technology, which is a main domain. And you can see in this slide, you can see the sharp growth in the last 6 or 7 years, which is almost unheard of. And most of the manufacturers in the world, they open centers here in Israel. Now we go to the AI. And the AI startups, you see on the top, more than 1,000 AI startups in Israel, which is really unheard of. And for me, AI is not just a domain name, but rather a kind of umbrella name code. That is because AI is embedded in dozens, maybe hundreds applications and solution, and probably will be embedded almost in every domain in the future. And you can see here in this slide, you can see the distribution sectors. You can see technologies, applications, hardware, and all these applications. So you understand that AI is almost in every sector. And then we go to the cybersecurity landscape. You know that cybersecurity maybe is one of the major leads of Israel in the world. And it's another umbrella name code, and you see that we have more than 250 different startups, and some of the leading companies in the world, such as Checkpoint, CyberArk, Imperva, Palo Alto, and cybersecurity is another technology which must be embedded in every technology solution and application in the future. Now we go to the last generation, and we start to understand if there is someone who could have predicted in 1992, one generation back, what will happen in the next generation towards the 2020. And you can see here that computer communication has started in 1992. And it was the first steps of the internet, the first steps of the emails. And you see that the mobile phone, 1995. And this device that you see in the slide was considered as a joke in Israel as a cold weapon because it was too heavy. And then you go to all the Googles and the Facebook, and you see it's the late it's 1998, and Facebook in 2004, and Twitter in 2006, and YouTube in 2006, and then all the smartphone and the navigation system and the cloud computing, which came out towards the end of the 2007, 2010. Can we imagine the life today without the WhatsApp? I'm sure that we cannot live without the WhatsApp. And what is the big data? Big data, it's since 2010, and today we cannot understand almost anything without understanding the big data. And in 1992, big data was not even a name, was not even an idea, was not even a vision of someone. And then, of course, we go towards the 2020. We see the autonomous vehicle. We see all the Zoom meeting from Skype in 2004 to Zoom in 2020. So it's a very significant progress. Now we ask if we can predict the progress one generation ahead. And you know that one generation is towards the 2048. I think that even the most brilliant and creative people are not even close to predicting what happens in 2048. Even though we should try to identify a few critical enablers that we will not be relevant without them. And let's see some of them. So we will start from information. So I think that we know today about the size of the information. We talk about the big data. But you know what is Google? Not Google, Google. Google is 10 to 100 in power compared to today. And I think that we will be there. We will be there very, very soon, or not very soon, but towards the end of the next generation, we will be there. And then we go to the connectivity. Everything will be connected. Everything will be connected. Infrastructure will be connected, cars will be connected, homes will be connected, everything will be connected. Today we talk about the IoT, the Internet of Things, which is in the first steps, maybe 2-3 years ago, but in the future, it will be the basic. And transportation. Let's talk about transportation. What will be the transportation in 2048? Driver? What is a driver? Who will drive cars? And what is a family-owned car? The cars will be a fleet car, the cars will be a service car, and you'll not need a car of yourself. What will be the international transportation? You know that in this week there was an news in the internet that in the future it will be less than 1 hour to travel from New York to Los Angeles, less than 1 hour. Some talk about 36 minutes, some will talk about 45 minutes, about any kind of new technology, transportation technologies that will change significantly the industry. What about the industry? In the industry, what the production will be like? Facilities, product lines, I'm not sure. Maybe the planning and the production planning will be in one size, and the customer will be in different geography, and the production and the printing, all the others will be there, very close to the customer. Maybe it will save a lot of logistic moving products from one geography to another geography. And about health, doctors, robots, I'm not sure. Let's go to the surgeries. Who will make the surgeries? Maybe one doctor will be in the room, but maybe the surgery will be done by doctors that will be in other location, in other geography. And they will control the robots and all the technology, and they will make the surgery in different geography. So it's different world, and I think and I say that we are not even close to predicting what will be happen then. So now we need to identify the critical enablers to stay relevant. And everything in this slide is relevant to Aitech as well as to most of the industry. The first one is computing power. Current capability are not even close to the future challenges of the computing power. And since Aitech is dealing with computer power will be a major issue. About AI inside. No AI, not relevant. This will be the situation. No AI, no relevant, because the size of the information will be significant. Let's talk about connectivity. Whatever will not be connected will not be relevant. Cars will talk with infrastructure, will talk with cars, homes will talk with people, people will talk with people. Everything will be connected, and the connectivity must have all the AI behind it, all the Google data behind it, etc. About the Google data analytics, it's just a buzzword, but someone, or some people, or some countries, or all the startups will have to create the next generation and the next generation of the big data analytics. And the last but not least is the Startup Nation DNA. Everyone who wants to stay relevant must adapt not all the DNA of the Startup Nation, but some of the DNA components of startup thinking, of creativity, of thinking about out of the box. And without that, it will be very difficult to achieve the goals and to be agile enough to stay relevant. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Malka. I would like to invite our new VP Marketing located in the USA, Mr. Duke Huitran, that will talk about where we are going with the global aerospace trends and will provide us with his vision of where this industry is heading and how Aitech can provide the latest technologies and solutions. Can we hear you, Duke?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
And you can see the presentation as well, I hope.
Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Shani, and welcome to the customer forum. I'm live here from Burning, California, and so I'm going to be talking about some of the future trends. You've heard from Euron, some of the company. You've heard from about some of the future trends just now, but I'm going to be talking a little bit more specifically about our industry. And where we're going, the army of the future, and all these things. Okay. So you've seen this slide from Euron, who talked about the post-COVID world, and I'm not going to go through them again. But we are dealing some of the challenges, the economic challenges, and the growing military conflicts. And if you combine all of that with some of the future trend, the army of the future, you can really start to dive into some of the trends that we see for the rugged computerized industry. So some of the things that we see in the army of the future is some of the things that we pulled out that affects us is the first thing is rapid, effective decision making. What this one means is the complexity and the speed of the battle space is now beyond the cognitive capacity of humans. Basically, what it means is humans are no longer intelligent enough to be able to make decisions fast enough in the combat. And the requirement for artificial intelligence and predictive analytics is required to be able to do that. Another thing that the army of the future that we see is resilient information sharing. And this is the ability to withstand any attack, and it relies a lot on the performance, high performance of electronics, of a robust connectivity, and this drive a lot of some of the satellite, the space technology, the boom that we're seeing. So resilient information sharing, this is another one that we see. And the third one is global persistent awareness. And this is about information superiority that relies on the low-cost sensors distributed to multiple platforms. And the idea here is to have the information that is everywhere and is redundant. And so you have a multiplication of the same information everywhere. So if it gets denied in one area, it's available in somewhere else. And the fourth trend we see in the military army of the future is what's called complexity, unpredictability, and mass. What this means is you have the military, the Air Force today, relying on very expensive systems that is supplemented by a large number of small unmanned system that's unpredictable, that has a more critical mass. And again, this is rely on the artificial intelligence, low-cost sensor, network communications. And so you can see that artificial intelligence and network sensor is kind of pretty prominent in all these things. What that means in terms of implications for the ruggedized computing industry is that, to state the obvious, is ever-increasing need for computing power. And we've just heard that just now. The adoptions of artificial intelligence. So you see some of the trends that is on the society as a whole is also the trends in the aerospace and militaries. We see the rise in parallel computing, things like GPU. That's why it drives the need for a GPU. You see the additional protection against cyber threats. Once you have all these systems connected, cyber threats becomes very prominent. You have SWaP-C optimization, size, weight, power, cost. These things are all already very important, but it's going to be even more important in the future when you think about all the unmanned systems that are being deployed. Some of the standardized standards, such as SOSA and phase, that is a standard that came out of the Department of Defense in the US, And the driving factor for that is to reduce costs and increase the speed of development. Localizations of production. And finally, we see COTS in space. And COTS in space is commercial off-the-shelf product. One of the big driving factor of space, partly is because there's a more demand for it, but also the affordability of space is coming down quite a bit. So when you have these two things come together, you have a boom in the space. And one of the driving factor of that is COTS in space. Okay. I'm gonna talk a bit about SOSA, and for those who don't know, this is a open standard that the DoD came out with, and Aitech we recently joined SOSA technical standard, and the goal of it is to reduce development time, make it more affordable, to have better integration and interoperability issues, is to also have a more sustainable system and more scalable systems, is the ability to connect different systems to each other, and also to add plugins and modules to the systems. And also it makes it easier for technology insertion capabilities in the future. At Aitech, we bring our technology to SOSA, and we are part of a couple of technical working groups, such as the hardware subcommittee, the intermodule interaction subcommittee, the security subcommittee, and small form factor subcommittee. So these are some of the subcommittees that we've joined. And you will see over next year and 2021 that we're going to be releasing a lot of different products and a lot of different solutions as it relate to SOSA. Couple things I want to say about the space business. We've talked about the militarization of space, and also a couple of reasons. There's militarization of space, and there's also the fact that the internet of connectivity and it's very prominent in communications. And that drives the need for satellite in space very, very high. If you look at this chart here, for the last decade versus the next decade, there's significantly more number of satellite that's going to be launched. We expect to have over 1,000 satellites by 2025. This is only a few years from now. And this is a result of a greater demand for space technology, but also because of the lower cost of accessibility into space. You have the launch cost that's gone down, but also the cost of electronic has gone down. And things like COTS in space, this is something that Aitech would pioneer some 30 years ago, that drive the cost of COTS down quite a bit. Just to leave you with a couple numbers on the COTS in space. The big thing is it's much more affordable than a custom systems. In the past, oftentimes when you build something, you build it one time and it's a custom. So you can look at something like 90% cheaper than the custom solutions. It's also lower risk systems. Is for example at Aitech, we have about 30 years of space pedigree with trillions of miles flown without a single failure, which also means it's more reliable than custom. So when you have a COTS, it's more reliable as well as more affordable. And also in terms of development, it's also a lot faster to develop. We are talking about an order of magnitude of 10 times. We're talking about system in months as opposed to years. And so you can see the benefit of COTS in space is very significant. And at Aitech, we have two major business. One is in mil and aero, military and aerospace, and the other ones it's space. And we use our know-how to achieve some of these things. Okay. So thank you for listening. That was a very short look into the futures. As you can see, the trends. It's a very clearly laid out between the three of us, and I'll send you back to Shani.
Thank you very much, Duke, for an interesting session. You are welcome to stay with us for the next expert panel, where we will be addressing more valuable questions that we are all facing. This is also a good opportunity to invite you to send us your questions on chat or through the Q&A. First is AI, in which Dan Moore, Aitech GPGPU Product Line Manager, will present 2 lectures. The first one will talk about deep learning in a nutshell, and the second will provide you with an AI post-COVID-19 use cases and new solutions. Second is cybersecurity and swap-C optimization, in which Boris Bayer, Aitech VP R&D, will present the cybersecurity from development to deployment in the new reality. And then Alex Trigub, Aitech SBC's Product Line Manager, will present more for less swap-C optimization post-COVID-19. I would like to ask you to stay with us and come back to a general assembly session where we will have a fascinating lecture called The Search for Life in the Solar System. It will be presented by Michael Kaplan, Principal Consultant at Kaplan Astronautics, followed by a live experts panel that will answer your questions and more.
Hi, my name is Dan Moore. I'm a Product Line Manager for GPGPU and Graphics at Aitech company. The first talk will be Deep Learning in a nutshell. Let's see agenda. Deep learning in a nutshell. How GPU works, CUDA fundamentals, deep learning in a nutshell. We will start with how GPU works. In the middle you can see a typical computer, the central processor unit and a memory. From the left you can see an input. Input can be keyboard, mouse or any kind of peripheral device. Output can be connected to external monitor. How a CPU works. The central processor unit is a collection of million transistors. Basically, a CPU best for the serial processing. Modern CPU can parallel process for some activities, but they are not originally designed for. How a GPU works. GPU from the beginning was designed for parallel processing, performing many tasks in parallel. In this example, you can see how each pixel in the image frame handled by GPU in parallel. For each pixel in image, we want to calculate pixel color and its coordinates. All this should be done in parallel in order to render image as fast as possible. Now imagine you want to move 3D image in space. How many calculations for each pixel in image should be done? Imagine we need to do it in serial instead of parallel. CPUs and GPUs. CPU and GPU working always in parallel. However, GPU features massive parallelism and designed for more specific computations. CPU have large instruction set, which allow them to perform a wider range of tasks. A system will typically have at least one CPU and one GPU, and they will always work in parallel. Let's see an example of pizza delivery. We can try to demonstrate a CPU sequential computation as an example of pizza delivery. Delivering a pizza in this case will be done one by one pizza at the time, from one house to the last in the chain. Now let's see how pizza will be delivered by GPU. Imagine you have in each delivery point and delivery person. When ready, all the team will start delivering process and will be done in parallel and not one at a time. GPU is actually perfect for AI, deep learning and big data analysis because AI used so-called neural network, which takes multiple inputs, has multiple hidden layers, neurons and nodes, and then provide outputs. What NVIDIA found is that a parallel processing on GPU is perfect for these neurons on hidden layers on multiple inputs. So GPU can run AI faster than CPU and trading them in parallel. AI and deep learning is sweeping across industries. We can see the AI in the internet service industry, in medicine, media and entertainment industry, security and defense, autonomous machines. Let's talk about CUDA fundamentals. Accelerating computing growing rapidly thanks to CUDA features offered by NVIDIA. Just for the last 6 years, we can see tremendous growing of CUDA developers. As an example, for today, all top HPC applications are GPU accelerated. CUDA now is powered today most fastest supercomputers. All the popular deep learning frameworks like Caffe, TensorFlow, PyTorch accelerated by GPU, as well as any professional applications which need heavy computation. For example, mechanical engineering using AutoCAD, which accelerated by CUDA. CUDA is available everywhere, in the cloud, in the system, on a PC, desktop station, or laptops. Let's see an example of how parallel programmers work. We need to put parallel parts of code, which is usually consumed on the runtime, to the parallel hardware and keep the rest of the code on CPU, like file I/O, network, communication. CUDA make it easy to switch between the targets. This means we would like to identify which code is running most of the time and how we can make it work in parallel. Then we can move this code to GPU. It's called offloading, and free CPU to other I/O tasks, or so-called mission-critical applications. We can see 3 layers here: a language support layer, development environment layer, and programming approach. CUDA Toolkit includes all the components you need to build your application for parallel programming. The toolkit includes GPU-accelerated libraries, compile toolchains, rich debugging and profiling tools to help developers build applications optimized for GPU. CUDA includes optimized library for a variety of applications: for linear algebra, for parallel algorithms, for deep learning, for signal and image video processing. Let's see example of 3 steps of CUDA accelerated application. Step 1. We can substitute library call like saxpy to the cuBLAS saxpy. Step 2. Need to use CUDA calls from memory allocations, or we're a way to automate it with the CUDA memory manager. Step 3. Link with CUDA accelerated library while compiling. In this example, you can see we're compiling an image and link it with the cuBLAS accelerated CUDA library. Let's see example, some CUDA C. CUDA C was the first language supported on the CUDA platform. Example of saxpy function. saxpy stands for scalar and time x plus y. It's linear algebra function, which scales each element of vector x and end result to corresponding element of vector y. You can see a for loop which is executed serially. From the right, CUDA implementation. Same arguments and computation looks the same. The difference is that instead of sequential looping of n elements, CUDA launches n threads, and each thread is responsible for each element of the computation. 3 brackets specifying how much threads we want to launch. The first value is a group of threads, blocks, and the second value is a number of threads in the given block. In this example, we launch 4096 blocks of 256 threads. It's about 1 million threads in all. Additional approach with simplify CUDA programming is using OpenACC tool. We can comment GPU target software code with pragmas, and this code will be optimized for GPU usage. The next slide is deep learning in a nutshell. Let's start with the business question. You have several inputs. One of the input can be text, image, video, or audio. The business question you can ask in case of text input data: is it present or not? If it's present, the AI task will be detection. If it's an image input, what type of thing is it? In this case, AI task will be classification. In case of video, what extent it's present? In this case, it will be segmentation. For the video, what is the likely outcome? In this case, it will be prediction. And the last one is the audio input. What will likely satisfy the objectives? In this case, it will be recommendation. From the right, you can see the pictures of classification image, classification and localization, object detection, and instance segmentation. Classification and image. It takes an image as an input and outputs the classification label of that image with some metrics: probability, loss, accuracy. For example, an image of a cat can be classified as a class label cat, or an image of a dog can be classified as a class labeled dog, with some probability. Detection. Object detection algorithms acts as a combination of image classification and object localization. The last one is a segmentation. Image segmentation is the further extension of object detection, in which we mark the presence of the object through pixel-wise mask generated for each object in the image. The good example in our market, it's a defense market, it's surveillance and security, face recognition, object tracking, actively recognition, and so on. This will be very intense, so please stay with me, guys. Let's take a look on how deep learning works in practice. Let's say we want to automatically identify a variety of different animals, which is classification task. The first step is to assemble a collection of representative examples to be used as a training dataset, which will serve the experience from which deep learning network will learn. If you need only to classify dogs and cats, you will need cat images and dog images in your dataset. In this example, you will need several thousand images, which are labeled if it is a cat image or dog image. The first step, we will take untrained model. The next, you will need a deep neural network model. Typically, it will be untrained deep learning network model designed to perform general tasks like detection, classification, or segmentation on a specific type of input data like images, text, audio, or video. Here you can see a very simple model of untrained neural network. On top of this model, there is a layer that has 4 input nodes, and at the bottom there is a layer of 2 output nodes. Between the input and output layers, there are a few so-called hidden layers with the several nodes each. White lines show which layers share this result, with nodes in the first hidden layer and so on, all the way down to the output layers. You may hear that the nodes refer to us as artificial neurons or perceptrons, since their simple behavior inspired by neurons in the human brain. A real deep neural network model will have many hidden layers between the input and output layer. This is why it's called deep, but the simplified representation here is fine for this example. Keep in mind that the design of deep neural network is what makes it suitable for particular task. For example, the best models for classification are very different from the best model for speech recognition. The differences can include the number of layers, number of nodes in each layer, the algorithm performed on each node, and the connection between the nodes. Many general models are already available for classification, object recognition, image segmentation, and several other tasks, but it's often necessary to modify these models to achieve high level of accuracy for the particular dataset. So computation is required to train one version of the model multiplied by number of models that need to be evaluated. All this processing required tremendous computation power, much of which can be performed on cloud, which can be performed in parallel, which makes it ideal to accelerate it by GPUs. Let's see second step, training. Once you choose a generic model and you have a dataset, you can use deep learning framework like Caffe2, TensorFlow. These frameworks used to feed your dataset through the neural network. For each image that is processed through the neural network, each node and output layer indicates how confident is the image is a dog or a cat. In this case, it's only 2 options. So we have 2 nodes of the output layer, one for dogs and one for cats. When the final output is sorted from most confident to the least confident, the result is called confidence vector. The deep learning network then looks on the data labels and check if it gets correct answer. If it guesses correctly, the network strengthens the connection, which contribute to correct answers, and vice versa. The network reduces the weights that contribute to wrong answer. After processing entire dataset once, neural network will generally have enough experience for the correct answer, a little more than half of the time. It will require additional several rounds of processing of entire dataset to achieve high level of accuracy. There are many different neural networks to choose from. Each have their strength, programming languages, but they all GPU accelerated using CUDA, a deep neural network library, cuDNN, and other libraries from NVIDIA Deep Learning SDK. The third step, adding new capability. So now the model is trained with the large data set. It can distinguish between cats and dogs, but if you will show a picture of raccoon, the model will be confused, and it doesn't have previous experience with raccoons, and we will probably get a low confidence vector for both dogs and cats. If you need to add raccoons to identification process, you need to modify design of the model and add a node to the output layer. Add a dataset which includes 1,000 of dataset, which represents raccoon, and use deep learning framework to retrain the model. There is no need to write additional raccoon instructor, just modify network topology of it and retrain the model with the new dataset. The fourth and the last step, inference. Once the model has been trained, now it's time to optimize it for significantly faster runtime performance. Common optimization include fusing layers in order to reduce memory and communication overhead, remove nodes that do not contribute significantly to results, and other techniques supported by NVIDIA TensorRT. Now we have fully trained and optimized model that is ready to be integrated in the application and feed it with images of cats and dogs, which is never seen by this model before. It will be able to quickly and accurately give correct answer based on its training. And the application can be displayed on GPU-accelerated platform, in the cloud, on a local workstation, on a robot, UAVs, and so on. Let's summarize what we learned today. We talked about how GPU works, we talked about CUDA fundamentals, and we talked about deep learning in a nutshell. The second talk will be AI GPGPU, post-COVID-19 trends and solutions. Let's see our agenda. Post-COVID-19 defense market needs, new exciting products, what it's cooking. Frost & Sullivan is a well-known market research company which provides reports for market status and trends. If we will look on the COVID-19 impact on the world GDP growth, we can see a recession expected during 2020. And as always, after recession, there is a spike during 2021. How we can make an advantage for this recession? We can use this recession time for IRAD planning and new product development. So when spike will come, and it always comes, we'll be ready with the new product for the new post-COVID-19 market. Which interesting market fields are identified by market research in post-COVID-19 world? Augmented reality, UAVs, which is unmanned vehicles, smart soldiers, and man-portable wearable devices. Let's look on airborne applications. Some of airborne applications require a number of displays. Some of them displays and camera resolutions. What will be the next growth area? The total number of pixels and displays continuously growing. The resolution of images continuously growing too. Increasing in industry rapidly, manned ground vehicles, cars, and aircrafts. Identifying market needs, image processing, object detection, tracking, classification, threat assessment. Objects are often partially obscured, occurred from visual imaging. Environmental factors and imaging artifacts like fog, rain, adverse lighting, disturbing our images. Enemy combinations of pedestrians can often fail to auto-identify and classify correctly. How we worked around 7 years ago? We used heavily CPUs. We need constantly add new features and algorithms. Image processing become more complex, high-resolution cameras and high video throughputs. All this caused to CPU core starvation, which leads to increased power consumption, which leads to complex cooling solutions and CPU throttling. The question is, do we need to compromise? Let's see and compare two architectures of CPU and GPU. The CPU is task-oriented processor with serial processing and sophisticated complex core. The GPU processes multiple image data simultaneously, can leverage parallel processing, have a simple cores, but many of them, actually thousands of cores. So what we are looking for? After seeing market demands, we can clearly see that the market required small form factor systems, which is swap optimized. Swap is the size, weight, and power, parallel computing, and variety of I/O. Aitech started its journey 7 years ago with the NVIDIA Jetson-based family. It was the first company which has introduced rugged NVIDIA-based device, which is small form factor. With the time, we become a preferred NVIDIA partner for the embedded market. AI and GPGPU systems. Let's present a product line for the GPGPU. From the right, you can see high-performance embedded computers. You can see the A191, A196, and A195. This system based on 3 UVPX form factor. All this system, including Intel-based SBC and NVIDIA-based GPGPU board. The GPGPU board is based on latest and greatest NVIDIA Turing technology GPUs. In the middle, you can see a small form factor product line. This product line based on NVIDIA Jetson family. The A178 based on NVIDIA AGX Xavier. The A176 is very small form factor system based on NVIDIA TX2 and TX2i. And we will talk about the new one, the nano form factor system, A179. This one will be really greatest product. AI and GPGPU boards. We also developing a 3U GPGPU board based on NVIDIA architecture. The latest C530 supported NVIDIA Quadro architecture, T1000 and RTX 3000 GPUs. We have also XMC and PMC AMD-based GPU boards. These boards perfect for real-time operating systems like VxWorks and Integrity. We are working on the new generation board M599, which is based on the latest AMD E9171. The next line is a frame grabbers. The first one is XMC frame grabber with 8 simultaneously composite inputs, which is low power. The second one is XMC digital and analog frame grabber, which takes analog outputs and inputs with the low power consumption. A193 GPGPU systems. This system actually based on the Intel-based SBC with the latest Xeon D and Xeon E processors, and C530 based on the latest Turing NVIDIA architecture and Quadro T1000 GPU. As we know, every GPGPU system based on Intel platform always based on SBC and GPGPU. The system coming with the cold plate cooled solution and convection cooled. We're also providing developer kits for the software development, which includes cable breakout and the power supply. This is high-level block diagram of A193 system. You can see in the middle SBC with mounted frame grabbers 577 or 571, on-board SSD. You can see C530, which connected through the PCI Express, and you can see the power supply and 2.5-inch internal SSD storage. The next product is A178 Thunder. It's rugged GPGPU fanless AI supercomputer. This supercomputer is actually based on the latest NVIDIA AGX system on module. This is very interesting product. Has NVMe SSD with quick arrays and secure arrays, removable SD storage. This product is environmentally sealed. Let's take a look on this product in close-up. This is A178 product. See how small is it? You can see the circular connector on the front panel. You can see 4 SMA connectors. These connectors for the high-speed HDSDI inputs. The system is very small, environmentally sealed, and stands for the MIL standard 810. One of the interesting interfaces for this system is the high-speed interfaces. This system has 10 gigabit Ethernet interface, USB 3, and 2 additional display ports. So, on this system, you have 3 independent video outputs. This is amazing. Let's take a close look on A178 block diagram. You can see this A178 based on NVIDIA Jetson Xavier AGX module. A lot of I/O available: gigabit Ethernet port, USB, HDMI, UART, discrete CAN buts, serial ports, and amazing high-speed interfaces, USB 3, 2 display ports, composite inputs, NVMe SSD, and 10 gigabit Ethernet. A176 Cyclone. This is the next small form factor GPGPU systems. This one is based on NVIDIA TX2 and TX2 industrial model. We have a SATA SSD, a lot of memory storage, video capture device, HD SDI input, H.264 hardware encoder, a lot of composite inputs, variety of I/O, gigabit Ethernet, UART, USB, discretes, composite inputs, SDI and CAN bus. Let's take a close look to the A176 system. Let's take a look and compare two systems. One is A178 and the second one A176. Can you see the difference? Very small one. This small one, but it's very powerful. It's entirely rugged, environmentally sealed, with variety of I/O. This one is much more powerful, but this one is really swap size, weight, and power optimized. Let's take a close look on A176 block diagram. You can see Jetson TX2 and TX2i system on module, variety of I/O interfaces, gigabit Ethernet, USB, UART, discrete ports, CAN bus, and DVIs, and 2 expansion modules. These expansion modules, we can use them for the 8 simultaneously composite inputs and 1 HDSDI input. Let's cover the markets for this amazing product. This product can be used for the UAVs, for the signal processing, for autonomous robotics, intelligent video analytics, image capture in aerospace industry, persistent video surveillance, UGVs. I can tell you about many projects we did for the aerospace and defense industry, since it's restricted, but I picked 2 projects actually which are very interesting and I'm very proud of. One of them we did for Boeing. It's A176 system. This system for unmanned electric air cargo air vehicle. Drone would eventually be able to deliver up to 227 kg of cargo within 15 or 30 km radius. Let's see a short movie.
When I saw it take off, I was inspired by it. This team of Boeing engineers was able to do the impossible and deliver a prototype.
In a matter of 3 months, we took a concept from a piece of paper all the way to a flying vehicle.
So this is an octocopter. It's fully electric on some Boeing custom designed batteries. The goal is to grow into a large-scale cargo platform. So if you extend the range and you extend the payload a little bit, when you think about delivering 250 to 500 pounds over a 10 or 20 mile radius, you can change the way that the world connects. You can change the way that we deliver goods.
You've really got a convergence of technologies right now in terms of hybrid electric propulsion, vertical takeoff and landing, and autonomy that is going to unlock air travel in areas that we haven't seen it before.
So it becomes a test bed for future businesses, such as maybe electrically vertical takeoff cargo. This is my dream job of trying to come up with something new that the industry doesn't have yet. So it's exciting.
The company really is trying to change the future of the world. They are driving and on the leading edge and pushing the envelope, but doing it in a smart way.
Boeing is at the cutting edge of technology in aerospace. We have a chance here to really change air travel, and we'll look back on this day as a first step in that journey.
The next project we will present is based on A176. We did it for NASA. This is the first project we've done for space. Low Earth orbit flight test on inflatable decelerator, lofted, delivery of heavy payloads, experiment equipment, and people to destination with atmosphere. Lofted acts as a giant brake by deploying a large inflatable aeroshell and deployable aeroshell protected by flexible heat shield before entering the atmosphere. Which application we targeting with A176, A178, and actually all other small form factor GPGPU systems. GPGPU rendering, navigation and maps, CUDA-based algorithms, image processing, which are CUDA accelerated, radars, flight simulators, video recorders and streamers, surveillance, autonomous vehicles and drones, smart cities, GPGPU extensions to existing systems. Let's talk about what is cooking right now at Aitech R&D department. A179, it's a new nano form factor GPGPU. It's actually AI supercomputer. It has a nano form factor about 17 watt max, based on NVIDIA NX or latest Nano. Weight is less than 500 grams. Look on the size, it's very small, it's 10 by 5 centimeter. We are providing software and hardware add-ons for this system. Which market we are targeting? Smart soldiers, wearable devices, avionics, naval, ground mobiles, UAV, and of course, industrial market can benefit from this product too. Smart agriculture, drones, and surveillance. Let's take a look on the form factor of this system. This will be actually very interesting. Remember these two? So this one, A178, based on NVIDIA AGX Xavier. This one is a very small form factor, based on NVIDIA TX2 and TX2i. How small this small form factor system is, right? Now let's talk about A178. So A176 is very small, right? But we want to target to wearable device. So how about this one? This one is truly nano form factor. It's perfect for the wearable device. It's perfect for the UAVs, drones, and many other defense applications. Let's take a close look to the A179 Lightning Nano AI supercomputer. It's based on NVIDIA Xavier NX and Nano, variety of I/O available, Gigabit Ethernet, USB, MIPI, four MIPI CSI video inputs. It's amazing. 1 HDSDI, serial, discrete, CAN bus, USB 3 interfaces. We have M.2 for SSD, NVMe SSD, and removable microSD. Actually, we're also taking PCI Express 4 lanes to the output connectors. This way, we can create a docking station and chain several systems together. This way, we can increase performance each time by factor of 2, 4, 8, and so on. C530. This one is GPGPU 3 UVPX AI board. We're creating also an option for SOSA US market. This 3 UVPX board, based on the latest NVIDIA Turing architecture, RTX 3000 and NVIDIA Quadro T1000. 4 video output channels, PCI Express with 16 lanes. This is very powerful board. And 599, based on the latest Radeon E9171 Polaris architecture. This board is perfect for real-time operating systems like VxWorks, Integrity. Windows and Linux, of course, also supported. Up to 4K video outputs. This one is really great board. Starting from 2021, we want to provide software add-ons. We think that the software add-ons can benefit a lot to our customers. Let's take, for example, a health system. These software add-ons can constantly monitoring the health of our boards and systems. AI encode. We can video encode stream from the external cameras, encode in H.264 or H.265 format, and record it locally or remotely. We can also stream this video to the outside board. AI detect. We're providing a software add-on for the customers which using AIs, libraries and code example for the object detection, object classification, tracking, and motion detection for defense market. Dolphin. This is a PCI intelligent network. It provides an API for the PCI Express DMA transfers between the boards. We're also entering the FACE, open avionic environment for all military airborne platform types. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy my presentation. You can contact me directly to my email address or to sales department.
Hello everybody, I'm Boris Bayer. I'm a VP R&D at Aitech Systems. Today we'll discuss different cybersecurity aspects actual for the new business reality and covering main product development phases. The agenda of this session is based on the understanding on cybersecurity threats, overview of available applicable solutions, and explanations of Aitech cybersecurity concept, AI Secure. As the density of embedded devices in all parts of modern platforms become higher, it's only natural for the defense and aerospace sector to become more subject to a variety of security threats through all phases of life cycle of embedded system design, starting often with the cyber attacks to gain access to vendors, servers, and steal design information, and regularly ending with the successful efforts to take control of the embedded systems or retrieve classified information directly or remotely. So what is the main cyber attack goal? One is stealing data, and second one is stealing control. For stealing data, we are talking about retrieving security keys, encryption data, intellectual properties of enterprises, intelligence footprints or video. When we are talking about stealing control, take over control of embedded systems, hijack, alter the embedded systems, destroy or stall armored vehicles remotely. When the most of cyber attacks happens, vendors can invest their best efforts in multi-million projects, including the best cybersecurity and anti-tampering technologies to protect the embedded systems from other side adversaries with much limited capabilities and resources may gain access to classified design information. As example, you can see certain resemblance between various elements of the US F-35 and Chinese J-21. During the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, many enterprises are facing reality when, in order to assure continuation of business, remote working become to be major model for operating. Working from home exposes organizations to major cybersecurity risks. Decent security of home-based setups is one of examples. Workstations are often placed in non-secure home Wi-Fi with Xbox, KitchenAids, kits, tablets, and mobile phones. The Wi-Fi is protected with very weak passwords. Using multiple endpoints devices, a work mobile computer, home desktop, mobile phone with different installed software level of protection and the vulnerability. Extensive data sharing over open internet, not encrypted, and sometimes traveling through foreign services. Limited iOS support from home-based devices, not able to perform effective and timely monitoring, control, backup, and update. Private organizations and governmental agencies invest significant efforts in definition of secure cyber environment, improving supply chain immunity against cyber attacks. The US Department of Defense released its Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, CMMC framework. CMMC is a set of cybersecurity requirements private contractors must meet in order to be eligible to bid on defense contracts, and their compliance must be audited and certified by an approved third party. It captures best practice, allowing balance between security requirements and effective operating of businesses, including based on remote work needs. In addition to standard access password, the system sends secure code to mobile phone, decreasing probability of access by an unauthorized person. Backup and secure data for recovery in cases of a cyber attack on system failure. Definition of policies, refresh them frequently, periodically train employees to recognize and avoid cyber threats. Different techniques are available to protect embedded systems for cyber attacks. These methods are based on a best practice, common knowledge, and standard commercial tools like authenticated software, protection of network interfaces, non-authorized external media recognition, protecting programmable logic devices from a readback from cloning, prevention of BIOS tampering, prevention of hardware cloning, protection of a software system, protection of a storage by a password, by the encryption, and system tampering recognition and protection. There are many techniques available to protect embedded systems from compromising by adversaries. Those techniques are based on network, software, and hardware protection. Aitech solution called AI Secure, Aitech Cybersecurity Open Architecture, is based on the combination of those techniques. The heart of Aitech cybersecurity solution is Smart Fusion ARM operating as a security controller. This controller supervises all security operation of an embedded system. Second component is a trusted platform and boot guard. Xilinx ultra-scale MPSoC FPGA implemented on the Aitech products provides extensive security features. SSD security is another component, and anti-tamper based on the recognition and prevention of physical access to sensitive data. This picture visualizes the main concept of Aitech security. You can see that Aitech security is based on 3 layers. The first layer is a standard security when users implement the commonly used techniques like BIOS write protection, BIOS password, security boot, operating system guard, and different cybersecurity techniques like antiviruses, data encryption, BitLocker, and so on. The second layer is fully based on the standard solid-state disk security. The example for this is write protect, security erase, quick erase, and disk encryption. And on top of 2 layers, we have Aitech unique protection algorithms based on a Trusted Platform Security Manager and Xilinx ultra-scale MPSoC device, including a boot guard and tamper protection. The SSD security is based on 3 methods combining the best practices and the algorithms. Those are secure erase, fast erase, and the disk encryption. Security erase and fast erase is based on standard algorithms defined by NSA, DoD, US Army, Navy, and the Air Force. Those algorithms, once applied, continue running until full erase of SSD data. Even if power is interrupted, the process will be started when the power will be applied the next time. Encryption. All our Aitech disks include encryption of data. There are 2 methods of encryption. The first one is transparent for users when the encryption keys are embedded in the SSD, used only when the user wants to erase data quickly in cases of accident, danger of loss data. So this is a very fast method. When this algorithm is applied, encryption key is actually refreshed and all data on the disk become non-readable. The second method comprises of external security key, when operator must enter a security key every time when the power is applied to disk in order to open it and make it available for read and write operations. Xilinx Zinc Ultra-Scale MPSoC is implemented on Aitech main processor boards in order to provide to customers powerful and flexible platform for implementing of their security algorithms. This is a very large and powerful FPGA, providing great infrastructure, fast connection to main processor, and 10 GHz SerDes ports for external connections. This FPGA allows to customers to build their own security controllers. For example, 10 gigabit Ethernet controller or USB controller, fully based on the customer's IPs, full control over the software, and the hardware implementation is available for users. The ARM Cortex processor embedded in the main Smart Fusion FPGA has been utilized as an intelligence platform management controller and board security manager. The main FPGA was designed to be in the center of the processor architecture, and it's capable of supporting most of both vulnerable, more non-volatile resources like BIOS flash, EEPROMs, FPGA configuration files, and SSD. The security manager performs continuous monitoring of integrity of major system elements during all phases of SBC operations. Intercommunicates with the main board CPU to maintain trusted platform and plays key role in applying anti-tamper. Special battery-backed tamper detection mechanism recording unauthorized access to embedded system by opening a system case. Intruders attempt to breach the system is recorded in the volatile memory. after temporary attack, the embedded system is powered again, security manager will initiate complete system cleanup or just informing operator about this event. Aitech single-board computers provide a comprehensive cybersecurity platform, AI-Secure, including standard Intel CPU security based on a TXT and the trusted platform, as well as onboard trusted platform module, SSD options with the encryption, quick arrays and security REST features, security manager, tamper detection and variety of FPGA protection tools. Aitech has also included options for onboard security features and encryption that can be customized in the optional Xilinx UltraScale Plus FPGA. Today's embedded systems face multiple threats through all phases of their life cycle. The security of systems that are used in critical industrial, military, aerospace applications can have real-world implications that can even impact public safety. A comprehensive multi-layer protection strategy should be established from the early planning stages of a project and carefully implemented through the entire project lifecycle.
My name is Alex Trigub and I'm a product line manager for SBCs, switches and I/O boards at Aitech. My presentation today will focus on a topic which is extremely important for our industry at this day and age, SWaP-C optimization. In this presentation, I will cover the following. What is SWaP-C optimization and why is it important for the future of the defense industry? What are the main approaches to SWaP-C optimization and how are they implemented in the Aitech product portfolio? How can the basic SBC capabilities be extended through various integrated hardware and software add-ons to create a real multifunctional product rather than just an ordinary single-board computer? And finally, I will touch upon some upcoming exciting and innovative products in the Aitech SBC roadmap. Let's start by looking at the future battlefield. How will it change in 5-10 years? The current military market trends clearly indicate a heavy focus on automation. Less human soldiers on the battlefield, more smart equipment, which is either fully automated or remotely controlled. These types of unmanned aerial or ground vehicles can be used both for reconnaissance and combat. Unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs are already ruling the air. They come in all shapes and sizes, from large combat UAVs like the US Air Force MQ-9 Reaper, responsible for taking down terrorists in distant areas, or tiny drones that can be launched by soldiers in the field or even in urban combat zones to scout for exact enemy locations. Closely following the UAVs developments are UGVs or unmanned ground vehicles. This can be used for ground strikes or for transport of heavy equipment through dangerous war zones. In some cases, a UGV may even carry a small aerial drone and launch it on demand in a remote area. Removing the need to host a human pilot or driver not only saves lives, but also allows to greatly shrink the size and weight of these unmanned vehicles, which in turn improves their abilities in the field and reduces costs. Such unmanned vehicles require sophisticated high-resolution cameras, radars, and other sensors, as well as high-performance computing capabilities combined with artificial intelligence to process data from all the sources in real time in order to react quickly to various external conditions and threats. And all of this must be implemented in a relatively small and lightweight package. So other pillars of the future battlefield are smart soldiers and military robots. For human soldiers, special wearable equipment will provide augmented reality capabilities to be able, for example, to quickly distinguish friend from foe, and smart sensors that are able to detect an ambush or improve the soldier's aim in situations with limited visibility. It will also help the remote command center to keep better check on all soldier locations and threats in real time, and improve their tactics as battle progresses. Future military robots may serve as soldier companions to carry heavy equipment or clear the way in hard-to-pass areas. Obviously, implementing smart soldier equipment and field robots will require even further shrink in weight and size of the processing hardware, while still requiring advanced computing capabilities. Finally, all these various automated players on the future battlefield must be coordinated through effective communications and automated coordination protocols. So, for example, a drone picking up an enemy activity in a hidden spot will automatically warn the nearby squad of possible ambush. In a joint land-aerial strike, the command center can quickly select the most effective way to attack each target in real time, be it an unmanned tank, a UAV, or a nearby human soldier. Such automated coordination system from Rafael in Israel called Fireviewer is already able to shorten the time required to complete an attack and destroy the target by 3 times. So what is SWaP-C and how is it related to the future battlefield? SWaP-C is not a new term. It's getting increasingly important as the size of military equipment keeps shrinking. As I mentioned on the previous slide, unmanned vehicles, military robots, and smart soldier equipment are all becoming increasingly limited in size and weight. So SWaP-C stands for size, weight, power, and cost, and is usually mentioned in the context of optimization of all these parameters or some of them. Size is the most straightforward one. Obviously, if you're building a small aerial drone, you cannot afford to use a racked computer from a traditional military aircraft like F-16, as that computer itself may be the size of the whole drone. Weight is also very important, especially for UAVs, but also for ground vehicles in order to increase speed and agility or maneuverability. Of course, limiting the size of a racked computer will usually also lower its weight, but this also may depend on the specific materials used. Power consumption is another important factor, which affects all others as well. Lowering the power consumption of computing and processing elements of a system helps reduce the size and weight of power supplies and cooling elements, which in turn also reduce both the equipment costs and the energy costs. And the defense market is becoming increasingly cost-aware. In this new reality of COVID-19, defense budgets are more limited than in the past, while the military is required to do more and more with less money and resources. Also, while the field equipment and unmanned vehicles are becoming smaller, their numbers are growing accordingly, which means the total cost of ownership of each individual piece of equipment, which is, for example, a small drone, must be much less than of a large drone or unmanned aircraft. All these parameters, size, weight, power, and cost, affect each other and must be carefully taken into consideration all together and each one individually when designing products for this new era of automated and highly effective defense systems. So while thinking about SWaP-C optimization, people usually envision small form factor systems or shrinking of existing equipment to smaller size and weight or smaller overall SWaP-C. This is what I call the same for less approach. This approach works well for small drones and variable soldier equipment, as there is no other choice there. In other cases, however, in large drones or airborne targeting pods, such as the one shown on the bottom left, there may be more room, even to host a full 3UVPX system. In that case, however, the approach may be to integrate much more value-added functionality into the same size system, without increasing the overall SWaP-C. This is what I call the more for same approach. The trade-off between having much more functionality and performance in the same form factor or having the same or sometimes more as the technology progresses functionality and performance in a much smaller form factor will always depend on the target application. In any case, both approaches are valid and required to build a full product portfolio with SWaP-C in mind. And that is why at Aitech we have a wide product portfolio covering both of these scenarios and are constantly improving and advancing our products in both of these categories. This slide shows some examples of exciting Aitech products adhering to both SWaP-C optimization approaches. On the left you can see 3UVPX boards and systems under the more for same approach. These boards and systems pack a lot of value-added functionality, performance and security enhancements through various hardware and software add-ons. I will touch upon this in more detail in the following slides. The 3UVPX systems such as the A19X series are extremely flexible, modular and customizable. They may host a variety of functions within the same enclosure, for example, one or more high-end SBCs, advanced DPGPU boards, switch and I/O extension boards, all packed into the same 3UVPX chassis. On the right, under the same for less umbrella, you can see various small form factor systems. They have specific, fixed, dedicated functions such as small rugged Intel architecture computer, a standalone internet switch or router, and a remote I/O extension unit. We are already working on significant improvements in both of these portfolio sectors. On one hand, to pack even more functionality and performance into the 3UVPX boards and systems, while on the other hand, to further reduce SWaP-C of the small form factor systems. And at the same time, make them more flexible and extensible. If you're interested in more information or details on any of these products, you're welcome to visit our website after this presentation or contact Aitech Sales. Here I would like to talk about my long-term vision for the two sides of the swapC coin, focusing on single-board computers and standalone ranked computers. On the slide, you can see a comparison between the different aspects and parameters of each type of products. And as you can see, there are some similarities, but also major differences between the two. For example, on the right side, we are looking at much more power-efficient CPUs with up to 4 cores today, possibly growing to 8 cores in the future, while on the left side, for most performance-demanding applications, it's possible to grow up to 16 cores with high-end embedded processors like Intel Xeon D, and in the future, possibly even 32 cores using power-efficient ARM architecture. We are definitely looking into both Intel and ARM in the long term, although our focus in the 2021 roadmap is the next generation of Intel processors. So for same approach, we are talking mainly about 3VPX boards and systems. High-end processors and various add-on hardware and software functions embedded into the same 3VPX board, as we will see on the next slide. In case you haven't heard yet, Aitech is now a member of both SOSA and FACE consortiums, as we are committed to full alignment with these industry standards for bringing more innovation and interoperability into the market and to our customers. This slide shows the concept of Aitech flagship 3VPX SBCs, of what I like to call more than a computer. This means that our specialty, as part of the more for same approach, is to pack much more functionality and performance than just an Intel processor into the same relatively small 3VPX form factor. Besides having a high-end embedded Intel CPU with up to 16 cores, these SBCs provide large RAM and storage capacity. One of the main attractions is the large onboard Xilinx FPGA, which allows the offloading of heavy processing function from the CPU, or enhancing the system security. Having this FPGA on board means there is no need to buy an additional FPGA board, which in turn reduces both size, weight, and cost of the system. We'll touch more on the onboard FPGA possibilities in a minute. Speaking about security, Aitech flagship SBCs feature an advanced iSecure cybersecurity framework, which was covered in the previous presentation by our VP of R&D, Boris Bayer. High-speed connectivity, currently supporting up to 8x or 16x PCI Express Gen 3, depending on specific SBC, and up to 40 gigabit Ethernet, allows fast connection to GPGPUs, high-resolution GigE vision cameras, and other high-bandwidth sensor I/O. If the onboard functionality is not enough, XMC and M2 sites, depending on the specific SBC, allow adding functionality within the same 3VPX form factor without using an additional slot. Aitech offers a variety of innovative XMC products, such as a fully managed Ethernet switch router on XMC, so it's possible to build a subsystem, what I call smart sandwich, of SBC, Ethernet, and Ethernet switch using only a single 3VPX slot. M2 slots allow adding secure storage as well as special I/O like CAN bus, or in the future FPGAs and dedicated AI acceleration based on the Intel Movidius visual processing units, all in a very space-efficient form factors. With support for various software add-ons like Health monitoring, and Dolphin PCI Express connectivity framework, our customers can really do a lot with this relatively small 3VPX board. So on the following slides, we will look a bit deeper into some of the aspects of the more than a computer approach. First, let's discuss the value of having a large onboard FPGA. FPGAs can be used to offload heavy workloads from the CPU, for example, data encryption or signal processing tasks. Having such FPGA on board saves system footprint and power budget, as well as costs. FPGAs are going through an immense evolution process during the last several years. Besides the ever-increasing logic and memory densities, they provide internal CPU ARM cores, making a true system on a chip. These internal CPU cores allow also offloading of FPGA control functions from the main CPU. Specialized integrated hardware functions like analog RF I/O and processing are now also part of the innovative FPGA SoCs within the Xilinx RF SoC product line. And these functions are fundamental for some military applications like radars. Xilinx next generation FPGAs, which they now call ACAP, Adaptive Compute Acceleration Platforms, will also include specialized and highly parallel artificial intelligence acceleration and DSP engines, in addition to the ARM Cortex A72 CPU cores and traditional programmable logic. All in all, having an advanced FPGA SoC on board and SBC significantly increased the capabilities, capacity and performance without increasing the overall footprint. However, integrating such FPGA onto a 3UVPX board is not an easy feat, and it greatly complicates board design and layout. Aitech has proven this capability with our existing C877 and C878 products, which include an onboard Xilinx Zinc UltraScale MP SoC without compromising the other high-end features of the SBC. As I already mentioned, our next generation flagship SBCs will also feature even more sophisticated onboard FPGAs such as RFSoC or the next generation adaptive compute acceleration platforms. Let's talk about iSecure. Thanks Boris for the detailed presentation explaining all aspects of our advanced cybersecurity framework. I'd like to take it a bit higher and talk about the main value to our customers. What iSecure really provides is increased survivability and level of confidence in the field, with much lower chances of a cyber attack during an actual deployment or maintenance of the system where the Aitech SBC has been installed. With the defense market adopting more and more advanced technologies from the civil market, these technologies also bring with them more potential cybersecurity issues and holes. So having a secure solution on the battlefield is becoming increasingly important. Not only to protect human lives during an actual battle, but also to protect sensitive or confidential data from being compromised, stolen, or modified for malicious purposes. That's why iSecure protects the SBC itself in terms of hardware, firmware, software, as well as data being stored on it on multiple levels. In addition, some of the aspects of iSecure provide protection from reverse engineering and cloning of firmware and software, which makes the system safer for export to allies. Some words on software. Our goal at Aitech is to increasingly provide more and better value to our customers. And part of this will be done by putting more focus on an investment in software add-ons and solutions going forward. Here are some examples of add-on software modules we are planning to develop during 2021. iHealth is Aitech integrated health monitoring solution, which provides a common health monitoring API across our platforms and allows collecting health status from various hardware components, predicting failures, and performing online system performance monitoring. We are going to integrate the PCI Express Fabric Communication Library from Dolphin Integrated Solutions. This library supports high-speed, low-latency peer-to-peer communication between PCI Express devices. It simplifies customer application development and shortens time to market by hiding the complexities and technical details of programming PCI Express devices directly. And finally, as part of our commitment to new interoperable standards, we are going to provide operating system and board support packages options with phase conformance based on WinDriver Linux and VxWorks 653. Here are some examples of how SBC functionality can be further extended through XMC mezzanines. XMC provides a way to add significant capabilities within the footprint of a single 3UVPX slot. Some of our most innovative XMC products are managed and managed Ethernet switches like the M620 and the M640, which support Ethernet speeds up to 1 gigabit Ethernet and up to 16 ports on the M620, the fully managed Ethernet switch router on XMC. This creates a very efficient combination of XMC and switch in a single 3UVPX slot. The next generation of Ethernet switching technology will support 10 GigE and 40 GigE interfaces and advancing further to 100 GigE based on 25 Gbps SerDes lanes with fully featured Layer 2 and Layer 3 networking capabilities and very fast boot times. In addition, we are working on new graphics and IO extension XMCs as shown on this slide. Now, let's explore the other side of the SWaP-C coin, the same for less approach. Here, as you can see, the main focus is on minimizing the form factor and power consumption and not on performance or integration of multiple functions, although some minimal degree of performance and capacity is still required. And CPU vendors like Intel are able to significantly increase computing performance and add more functionality within the same power envelope, as you will see on the next slide. Some of the products in this category, especially those based on PowerPC architecture, are also DO254 and DO178 certifiable for flight safety critical applications. One of the newest exciting products, which is very relevant to SWaP-C optimization, is the Intel Tiger Lake UP3 system on chip. This system on chip provides a powerful CPU and a powerful integrated GPU alongside inherent artificial intelligence acceleration instructions, powerful video processing, and security enhancements. All this while keeping the overall power consumption at low-medium level of either 15 watts or 28 watts, depending on the CPU frequency. And the CPU is based on Intel 11th generation core with up to 4 cores and 8 threads, and around 20% increase in single-thread performance versus the previous generation. On top of the pure CPU performance, further improvements are gained through the increased memory bandwidth. The GPU is the Intel 12th generation GPU technology with 96 execution units. According to initial benchmark, this GPU is powerful enough to deliver similar performance to some NVIDIA discrete GPUs, so for some applications, this integrated GPU can replace the external GPU, saving both space, power, and cost. This CPU also provides new cybersecurity capabilities for better protection of keys and memory contents, as well as protection against flow control-based attacks. These new capabilities will be fully integrated into the iSecure framework. And due to its small size and limited power envelope, while still providing an excellent performance balance between the Scholar, that is CPU, and the Parallel, that is GPU processing capabilities, this system on chip is perfect for next generation of SWaP-C optimized solutions. And Aitech is now working on 2 exciting next generation products based on the Intel Tiger Lake QP3 CPU SoC, a 3VPX SBC, and the modular rugged mini computer. C850 is a 3VPX SBC providing an excellent balance of CPU and GPU performance versus power and costs. It features 32 GB of RAM and up to 2 TB of M2 storage. It also features additional M2 and XMC sites for further extensions, as well as our advanced cybersecurity frameworks, which we already covered. The A181 is an innovative small form factor concept for small unmanned vehicles and robotics that we are designing around the Intel Tiger Lake QP3 SoC. It's a modular rugged mini computer. It will be available as a standalone miniature base unit featuring a fully functional computer with Intel architecture CPU, integrated GPU, and artificial intelligence acceleration capabilities. This provides a balanced combination of both the powerful CPU and the GPU with basic I/O like Ethernet and USB. However, in addition to the base unit, various extension modules will be available, providing either I/O extensions for avionics, such as 1553B or RINC428, additional AI acceleration where higher GPU performance is required, or FPGA, which can be used for example offloading of digital processing function or additional security enhancements. Finally, a couple of words about our small form factor switches. This include the currently available A664, which supports up to 16 1 gigabit Ethernet ports, with 4 of them being fiber optical ports. And fiber optics enable applications where copper cable link distance, bandwidth, or physical characteristics are unacceptable. And the A664 is a fully managed switch router supporting a variety of layer 2 and layer 3 networking capabilities, alongside security enhancements and fast boot mode. It's SWaP-C optimized, weighing less than 2.5 kilograms, with power consumption limited to 25 watts. And the next generation switch in this series, the A665, is currently under development and will feature 10 gigabit Ethernet, 40 gigabit Ethernet, and even 1 or more 100 gigabit Ethernet optical interfaces within a much smaller enclosure. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. We covered a lot of material, and my intention was to provide an overview of concepts and technologies, as well as existing and future Aitech products aimed at solving the SWaP-C optimization challenges of the future battlefield. If you have any questions on this or other related topics, or would like to get more information and details about the products I presented, feel free to contact us through the website or the sales channels, or email me directly at the address shown on the slide. Have a good day, stay safe and healthy.
Welcome back. I would like to welcome my colleagues here live in our virtual studio to the Experts Panel Q&A. Dan Moore, Boris Bayer, and Alex Trigub. How can we implement our own cybersecurity features using Aitech hardware?
Actually, the AI secure concept is an open frame designed to allow to customers very flexible implementation of their concepts, their algorithms security algorithms or encryption keys and storing of encryption keys and algorithms, and the implementation their own concept and their own way to protect the systems. So we provide all the tools, all low-level tools, kind of infrastructure to implement and to customize any cyber protection scenario, from recognition up to performing actions in order to alarm or clean up all the system. For example, we have a anti-tamper mechanism recognizing any intruder action, like opening of a system case, and then the user can define the way how he prefer to act, either to just to alarm or prevent from system to work, or to perform full cleanup of all non-volatile devices. Another mean is a very sophisticated FPGA provided by Xilinx. So this FPGA, it's Zinc Ultrascale SOP, residing on the board, and it's under full control of a customer, of user, and user can implement any security algorithms there. To implement their codes, the ways they manage encryption keys, and build their own concept based on Aitech infrastructure called Secure.
Thank you, Boris. I have another question from the audience for Dan. Can we dump image from NVIDIA Jetson-based system and clone it on other production units?
Thank you for the interesting question. Actually, all Jetson-based system has special recovery mode. Once you're entering recovery mode, you can dump an image, clone image, and further burn it on all production systems. All the procedure actually described in our user manual, so all the documentation customer can get from us. So very easy procedure, and we're familiar with it.
Okay. We have another question for you. Okay. Can we upgrade by ourselves to a more up-to-date Jetpack on NVIDIA Jetson-based system?
Yes, we constantly upgrading Jetpack for the latest available from NVIDIA. We also have entire source code of the bootloader, device tree blob, and the kernel. We can either provide the entire image to our customer, or we can help to our customer and provide the source code, so the customer will be able to compile device tree blob or kernel or build his own root file system.
Thank you, Dan. Apparently, we have another question for you. What if we had to add different capability which does not exist on COTS products?
Most of the time, we're selling slightly modified systems, since every customer required special features. So the system built in very flexible way. We have expansion ports, like M.2 expansion port, mini PCI port. So we're talking to our customer and getting new requirement. Usually, we're able to buy COTS expansions, like additional I/O boards, frame grabbers. Then we need to usually port some Intel-based driver to the ARM architecture. We have all the capabilities in-house, and then we can provide additional features to our customers.
Thank you. Alex, we have a question for you. Can you elaborate about operating systems and BSP support for your Intel SBCs?
Thank you, Shani. And so for our Intel SBCs, we provide a large variety of board support packages for different operating systems, covering various scenarios and target use cases. So we support Linux, Windows, and VxWorks. For Linux, we provide a generic board support package with source code for all drivers, so the customer can compile it with their own Linux distribution. And in some cases, we can also provide pre-integration services for additional NRE, or we can provide a Linux integration support package with support hours to help the customer integrate the BSP with their specific distribution. In some cases, we also have pre-integrated BSP for Ubuntu Linux and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And for Windows, we support Windows up to version 10 and VxWorks up to version 7. And also, as part of our commitment to go with new industry standards like the DoD FACE standard in the US, we are going to support FACE conformant operating systems and boards support packages in 2021.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, guys. As a little bonus for all of you who have stayed with us, I would like to invite Mr. Michael Kaplan to present his lecture, The Search for Life in the Solar System.
Hi, I'm Michael Kaplan. I'm here to talk for the search for life in our solar system. How do we look for life? We used to think that life required room temperature, sunlight, oxygen, energy, and liquid water. What we now know is that life, as we know it, only requires the presence of liquid water and energy. So let's start with Mars. On the left is an illustration of what the surface of Mars looked like to astronomers using telescopes on the ground back in the mid-1800s. On the right is a much more recent image of Mars taken from the Hubble Space Telescope. So if we want to look for evidence of past or present life on Mars, we have to follow the water. Here are two images showing changes on the surface of Mars, images taken from Mars Global Surveyor. And as you can see in the image on the right, taken 6 years after the image on the left, there's evidence of some sort of change on the surface. Astronomers believe that that was an outflow of water from the surface. Next, let's look at a series of rovers that NASA has flown to Mars over the last 30 years or so, starting with Sojourner, Spirit and Opportunity, Curiosity, and the most recent rover, which is scheduled to land in February 21, Perseverance. As you can see, each one of the rovers has increased swap, which of course provides much increased capability. Here's an image taken of Curiosity's descent prior to landing, taken by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, a remarkable image. And now let's learn a little more about Perseverance.
You know, Mars is the closest place that we can reach with robotic exploration that we think had a really good chance of having ancient life.
The Perseverance rover will land at a location called Jezero Crater. Jezero Crater is a very interesting place. It's a crater that once held a lake.
There are a lot of craters on the surface of Mars that could have once hosted ancient lakes, but not every crater that we think had a lake actually preserves evidence that that lake was there.
It had an inflow channel and it had an outflow channel. That means it was filled. The crater was filled with water.
In Jezero, we have probably one of the most beautifully preserved delta deposits on Mars in that crater.
This is a wonderful place to live for microorganisms, and it is also a wonderful place for those microorganisms to be preserved so that we can find them now so many billions of years later.
There is no other place on Mars that has the unique combination of a lake setting, a beautifully preserved delta, and the diverse mineralogy that we have in Jezero Crater. So it's truly a special landing site.
The major goal of the Perseverance mission is to investigate astrobiology on Mars, and in particular, to address the question of whether life ever existed on Mars. The Perseverance rover starts with a design that's very similar to Curiosity, but we've added to it a whole new set of science instruments. And these science instruments were purposefully selected to help us in the search for biosignatures.
We're going to be taking microphones with us. For the first time, we're going to have that human sense on another planet.
Perseverance carries with her a grand experiment in spacefaring technology, a helicopter, the name of which is now Ingenuity.
One of the major upgrades that Perseverance has from Curiosity is that it's able to self-drive for a distance of up to 200 meters per day. As the rover is driving, it's literally building the map of the road it's driving on Mars.
Scientists for years have told us that to really unlock the secrets of Mars, we have to bring samples from Mars back to Earth.
So what Mars 2020 is going to do is to drill samples, put them in small tubes. We're going to seal it in its own individual tube. We set them on the surface to provide a target for the second two missions, which hopefully will get in development in the next several years and could potentially get the samples back to Earth by 2031.
Perseverance is a very, very profound first step in both our understanding of our place in the universe and a stepping stone towards human exploration on Mars.
Very exciting new project. So Perseverance is due to land this February, and the question I have to ask everyone is, are we ready to find out what's really happening on Mars? Next, let's look at ocean worlds in our outer solar system. First, let's look at Europa. Here's the first image of Europa. This is a drawing that Galileo made in the mid-1600s when he observed 4 bright objects orbiting Jupiter with their configurations changing over time. He's the first person to have observed Europa. And here's a more recent image of Europa taken from the Galileo image, from the Galileo. And now let's look at what's ahead for Europa.
Europa is the most likely place to find life in our solar system today because we think there's a liquid water ocean beneath its surface. And we know that on Earth, everywhere that there's water, we find life. So could Europa have the ingredients to support life?
We might be actually looking at a body that is presently alive, presently active, and presently undergoing its geology. There is too much evidence right now lying around on the surface, the red stuff, that suggests that something's going on there. Is that an environment that is habitable for any sort of life form? By golly, we really have got to go back and figure that out.
We have designed the Europa mission to take a spacecraft and its set of instruments all the way from planet Earth to Jupiter.
Previous mission concepts were for a spacecraft that would orbit Europa, but Europa is bathed in radiation from Jupiter. Any mission that goes in the vicinity of Europa is cooked pretty quickly. Instead, we're looking at a mission that will orbit Jupiter, make close flybys of Europa, and then zip out of the high radiation region.
Kind of like when I was a kid, we had the sprinklers and we didn't want to be too close to the sprinkler head, so we would run in and get a little water and then run back out again.
This allows us to have a mission that's many years long and to collect and transmit lots and lots of data. As Europa orbits Jupiter, it flexes, and we could measure the gravitational change of Europa by encountering Europa at different points in its orbit. On a typical flyby, we would turn on our remote sensing instruments, we would image the surface, we would interrogate the surface with spectroscopy, and we would do the same thing on the way out. And we would essentially rinse and repeat and do this many, many times until we understand Europa globally. Images from the Hubble Space Telescope tells us that Europa might be erupting plumes of water high into space. If that's true, then we could fly through those plumes with a spacecraft and literally taste it to understand the composition of Europa's interior.
If it does have the ability to harbor life, how does that work exactly? We'll have enough instrumentation to really pinpoint exactly how the mechanisms would work for replenishing the nutrients in a subsurface ocean.
Europa is so important because we want to understand, are we alone in the cosmos? If there's life in Europa, it almost certainly was completely independent from the origin of life on Earth. That would mean the origin of life must be pretty easy throughout the galaxy and beyond.
Lastly, we'll talk about Titan. Titan is a moon of Jupiter, of Saturn, excuse me. Here are some images taken of Titan from the Cassini-Huygens probe. And the last thing I'm going to show you here is a mission called Dragonfly. going back to Titan, this time with a UAV.
NASA is pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and expanding the limits of technology. I am proud to announce that our next New Frontiers mission, Dragonfly, will explore Saturn's largest moon, Titan. Dragonfly will be the first drone lander with the capability to fly over 100 miles through Titan's thick atmosphere. Titan is unlike any other place in our solar system and the most comparable to early Earth. The instruments on board will help us investigate organic chemistry and search for chemical signatures of past or even present life.
So we have on Titan the opportunity to observe the processes that were present on early Earth when life began to form, and possibly even conditions that may be able to harbor life today.
One of the things that is particularly exciting about this mission is that we can do the very detailed chemical measurements, but be able to put them in the context of Titan as a system.
It's the science that really motivates us to do this exciting and difficult mission. Go Dragonfly.
Exciting stuff ahead. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Now, as promised, just before Christmas and 1 minute before we say goodbye, I would appreciate it if you can take a minute of your time to fill in a customer satisfaction survey. We continuously work to make Aitech exactly what you need for your business. Your feedback helps us decide what features to build and what improvements should be made to the services we offer. To help us make Aitech the best it can be, we invite you to click on the link raised on our chat and enter our draw to win a $100 voucher of Amazon. Winner will be announced shortly after the event. Thank you everyone for participating in our virtual customer forum. We hope to see you in person very soon.